August 6th, 1945, 8:15 a.m. The Enola Gay releases Little Boy over Hiroshima. 43 seconds later, 80,000 people are dead. The city is gone. August 9th, Nagasaki. Another bomb. Another 40,000 dead in seconds. Japan is on its knees. 2 cities erased. The emperor prepares to surrender. That's the history we know. What if, somewhere in the mountains of Hokkaido, Japanese scientists had quietly built their own bomb, just weeks behind America? What if Japan's military, instead of surrendering, launched 2 nuclear strikes directly at the United States? 2 nuclear bombs aimed at American cities. What happens next changes everything. Japan had an active nuclear weapons program, Project Nigo and Project F. They had physicists. They had uranium. They had the theoretical knowledge. What they lacked was industrial capacity, the sheer scale of factories and electricity that America used at Oak Ridge and Hanford. But in this scenario, assume Japan found a shortcut, a smaller, cruder device, less efficient than Little Boy, but functional, yield approximately 8 to 10 kilotons, half of what destroyed Hiroshima, still enough to level a city center. Japan had 2 such devices, and on August 9th, the same day Nagasaki burns, Japan's Supreme War Council makes a decision that splits history in half. Retaliate. The targets: San Francisco and Los Angeles, the 2 largest cities on America's west coast, the closest American soil to Japan, reachable by Japan's longest-range aircraft, the Nakajima G-10N, still in development, or more realistically, a modified Kawanishi H-8K flying boat on a one-way mission. One way. The pilots know this. They volunteer anyway. August 12th, 1945. 2 aircraft take off from separate airfields in Kyushu under complete radio silence. Each carries a single device. Each has a crew of volunteers who understand they will not return. American radar detects 2 unidentified aircraft approaching the west coast. The military response is immediate, but in 1945, interception is not guaranteed. Radar coverage has gaps. Fighter response time is minutes, and nobody believes Japan has nuclear weapons. The first aircraft reaches San Francisco at dawn. Detonation at 580 meters altitude, directly above Market Street. 8 kilotons. A fireball 200 meters wide. A shock wave that levels every building within 1.5 kilometers. Fires ignite across a 4-kilometer radius. The city's famous hills channel the blast into dense residential neighborhoods. 60,000 to 70,000 dead in the first minute. The Golden Gate Bridge survives, barely. 40 minutes later, Los Angeles. Detonation above downtown. Similar yield. Similar destruction. Hollywood, Bunker Hill. The port of San Pedro, critical to Pacific naval operations, severely damaged. Another 55,000 to 65,000 dead instantly. In 40 minutes, Japan has killed more than 120,000 Americans on American soil. Pearl Harbor killed 2,400. This is 50 times worse. And it happened in 2 American cities that civilians believed were completely safe. Washington, D.C., the White House. President Truman receives the news at 6:47 a.m. 2 nuclear detonations on American soil. America has 2 more devices ready, Fat Man type, more powerful than what Japan just used, plus the industrial capacity to produce more. 1 per month, accelerating. Japan has nothing left. The military presents Truman with options within 6 hours. The recommendation is unanimous: immediate nuclear retaliation, maximum force. The targets are already selected: Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya. 72 hours after San Francisco and Los Angeles burn, America drops 2 nuclear bombs simultaneously on Tokyo and Osaka. Tokyo, 21 kilotons. The Imperial Palace District, the entire governmental center of Japan. 150,000 to 200,000 dead in the first minute. Emperor Hirohito survives. He was in an underground bunker, but his government is gone. Ministers, generals, admirals, most of the Japanese military leadership dies in the first seconds. The nuclear arms race doesn't begin in 1949 when the Soviets test their first bomb. It begins in 1945, 4 years earlier, with 4 nations, America, Britain, the Soviet Union, and what remains of Japan, all racing toward nuclear arsenals simultaneously. The world changes permanently in 72 hours. The retaliation felt justified. 2 Japanese cities were destroyed without warning. Japan struck back. But now, Tokyo is gone. Osaka is gone. The emperor is alive in a bunker with no government around him. The military chain of command is severed. Regional commanders are making independent decisions. Some factions want to continue fighting. Japan still has 2 million soldiers on the home islands, 5,000 kamikaze aircraft, and a population prepared for a ground invasion they've been told will cost 20 million Japanese lives. But the nuclear exchange has done something unexpected. It's broken the will of the military hardliners. The men who believed Japan could fight to the last, they're dead, killed in Tokyo. The surviving commanders, suddenly in charge, look at the situation clearly. America has more bombs. Japan has none. There is no version of this war where Japan wins or survives as a functioning nation. On August 18, 1945, 6 days after the exchange, Emperor Hirohito broadcasts his surrender. An entire generation of Americans grows up knowing their country is not safe, not untouchable, not exceptional in the way they were taught. Instead, America builds bunkers, passes civil defense laws, teaches children to hide under desks not as a drill, but as genuine survival instruction. The trauma becomes policy, and policy becomes paranoia. Now Japan. Tokyo and Osaka are gone, but Japan still has 70 million people. Kyoto, Nagoya, Fukuoka, Sapporo. The country still exists. Broken, leaderless, but alive. America, which expected to occupy a defeated, unified Japan, instead finds something it didn't plan for, a country that doesn't exist as a single entity anymore. There's no government to sign a surrender, no chain of command to order troops to stand down. By 1950, there are effectively 2 Japans, a southern democratic state allied with America, and a northern territory under Soviet control, Korea, but Japanese. The immediate survival for civilians across all 4 devastated cities was a study in chaos, magnified by the lack of prior preparation. In San Francisco and Los Angeles, the survivors, many suffering severe flash burns and trauma, were met with gridlocked evacuation routes and a civil defense system built for conventional threats. Thousands fled the urban centers on foot, overwhelming surrounding communities and creating a refugee crisis on American soil. In Tokyo and Osaka, survival was even more desperate. While decades of conventional firebombing drills had established underground shelters and community groups, the scale of the nuclear blasts instantly vaporized neighborhoods, leaving only those deep underground or far from the blast radius. The breakdown of the Japanese military and government command meant aid was localized, relying on surviving family units, neighbors, and scattered remnants of local police and fire services who navigated a landscape permanently scarred by radiation and absolute destruction. Both countries carry August 1945 like a scar that never closes. America becomes harder, more militarized, more afraid. Japan becomes fragmented, occupied, erased as a unified nation. Nobody wins a nuclear exchange. They just survive it differently. Japan's retaliation kills 120,000 Americans. America's response kills 350,000 Japanese. The war ends in total Japanese collapse. On the surface, America wins. Japan loses. Same as real history. But underneath, the world that emerges from those 72 hours is fundamentally more dangerous than the one we actually got. In real history, nuclear weapons were used twice. The horror was enough to prevent a third use for 80 years and counting. In this timeline, they were used 6 times in 1 week. The horror became normal. The weapons became tools. And tools get used. Japan's decision to retaliate, completely human, may have saved Japanese honor in August 1945 and ended the world 20 years later.